Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, brought to you by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. Rube, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm a little envious. I saw the video you did on Dallas Goedert and Jake Elliott as you were walking along the canal trail. I love that canal trail. It kind of wends through downtown Indianapolis. There's all kinds of murals and historical things. It goes right past the NCAA headquarters at the end there, at the north end. It goes by the Idle George, I believe, museum.
Yeah, and it can take you from like one section of the city to you can go pretty far. Indianapolis is a neat city like that because you have the canal, but you also have the convention center. And if you know how to like navigate, if it's cold, you can like navigate inside everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like Minneapolis has those the Skyway, and the weather is. I don't think the weather's ever been good in Indianapolis. So
it's nice today.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's about 45 degrees, some sunshine. Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, I'd sign up for that.
Yeah, after what was earlier in the week, yeah, I'll definitely be happy with that. I should mention I am in Indianapolis for the Combine. I'm not just here vacationing.
Combine and Sixers duty.
Yeah, I stopped by the Sixers game on Tuesday night. They won, big game. Joel Embiid played. Maybe I'm the lucky charm.
You got to go to Indiana to see Embiid play, but worth it.
He played well too. It was a fun game. And
he's been playing great when he plays. The problem is getting him on the court, but yeah he's been terrific.
Maxey had a great game. Yeah, it was fun. And the halftime show, Frisbee Dogs, and
really
not just Frisbee Dogs. At the end, the grand finale was this lady had 3 dogs with her. She held 2 ends of a jump rope. We're gonna get the football, I promise. She held 2 ends of 2 jump ropes, and then 2 of the dogs held the other ends, and they started like double dutch, and one dog jumped rope in the middle of it all.
That's impressive stuff. I'm surprised you didn't do a blog post on it.
I mean, yeah, it was the most impressive performance of the night.
More than one.
I go 1 Frisbee Dogs, 2 Maxey, 3 Edgecombe.
Not surprised. Dave loves Frisbee Dogs.
We have football to talk about. I am here for the Combine. We want to talk about the Tush push discussion because there are layers to that here in Indianapolis. That things have changed from a year ago at this time. We want to get to that. We want to talk about this young offensive coaching staff, one of the youngest staffs we've ever seen assembled, and what we think that means. And we have questions coming up at the end, but we wanted to start today with a Nick Sirianni discussion. It's something that you wrote about, and how much is he really going to step aside and let 33-year-old Sean Mannion run the offense? I think it's a vital question for the 2026 Eagles.
Yeah, I think it's a pivotal thing, and Nick talked about it when we spoke to him last week before everyone headed out to Indy. And he, I think the pivotal quote he had was, "I need to be the head coach. I can't be the offensive coordinator." And there's a million things that, and look, he's tried to do both. I think he kind of last year he started doing more offensive coordinating as the season went on. I think he owes it to Sean Mannion to stay out of his way. Now, he did say, he's always there as a resource. He's coached a lot of offensive football in his life. He's coached in the NFL for almost 20 years. And he's there if Sean has questions or wants to bounce something off him. And the one thing Nick always says, like, there's things that we do that have worked, and we're going to keep doing them. And so those are things that are from the Nick Sirianni playbook. And so right there, you have him. And look, I don't know how much they'll do those things and how prevalent they'll be, but he's not going to just – I think it's clear he's not going to just leave Sean Mannion completely alone. The question is, like, how much does it get to the point where he's interfering? He said, I mean, the pivotal fourth down calls are going to be his. So is play calling – to me, play calling is – and being the offensive coordinator is deciding what to do on those pivotal plays. But Nick seems to plan on still doing that. And look, he has every right to do that as a head coach. If it's 4th down and game's on the line, do you punt? Do you field goal? Do you go for it? And as long as Sean Mannion's calling the play once Nick decides to go for it, I'm fine with that. Nick's got to make those pivotal calls, those important calls. But, I do worry that he'll overstep his bounds and step on his toes, but only time will tell. If you hired this guy, you believe in him, you believe in what he's bringing as far as scheme and how he's going to use his personnel and all those things. And I just hope he stays out of the way to the extent that Sean can do his job the way he wants to.
Yeah. When you talk about, decision-making, obviously they need to be in lockstep, and there needs to be constant communication, because Sean, I say like I know him, I've never met the guy. Sean Mannion needs to be able to, call a game with the understanding of how Nick is going to manage it. Like those things go hand in hand. Like if he's going to call this third down play, he needs to know the situation on fourth down. So it does need to work hand in hand. When you get to like overstepping his bounds, it's a tricky thing, because I think, as much success as Nick has had in the 5 years he's been here, 5 playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, the Super Bowl win, like we've joked about, like he's on these all-time great lists in terms of just win percentage. But I think the seat is a little hotter right now. And if it comes down to like he's coaching for his job, I think it's going to be and if things aren't going well, I think it's going to be really tough for him to just sit back and let it happen. Like I don't think we already saw that last year. He stepped in because things weren't good enough. And like I think if things aren't going well again, he's going to do it again.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you're not going to put your, I mean, if they're 6-4 and the offense isn't really rolling the way they want it to, and they're down 17-10 in week 12, and he feels like he needs to step in and start doing more, he's going to do it. And I'm not going to say it's a mistake. I mean, if they're struggling, but I just think Sean Mannion has to know that it's his offense. He's calling the plays, and Nick might have a voice in things, but is not going to interfere. And I think they'll start out that way. I just don't know how it's going to go. I mean, Sean Mannion's, what is he, 33?
Mm-hmm.
Nick's in his mid-40s. I don't know. What is he, 45?
I think he's 44.
I hate when you do that. But he's going to be 45 in the next 12 months at some point.
That's how that works, yeah.
But, yeah, I think it's important that Sean can really just grow into the role and go into a game feeling like I'm the play caller, I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm kind of going to guide this thing, and I hope Nick lets him.
June 15th. So
that's his birthday?
Yeah. So
that's soon. So he's closer to turning 45 than turning 44.
That's true.
So I was right.
I like the gymnastics there. Yeah, so it's fascinating, and the fact that Mannion got to bring in a couple of his guys, though, I think does help. Because it's going to be his system, and let's be honest, it's a system that Nick doesn't have a background in. So if they're going to stick to this, and I am curious about, like, are they really going to go all in on this version of football, or is it going to be some sort of combination? Because the last time they brought in an outside coach with Kellen Moore, like, it was not Kellen Moore's offense completely. We saw that. Like, so many of the staples that we expected either didn't happen here, or they were like really watered down because of the offense that was already here in place. So I think it's going to be more all in on Mannion than it was Kellen Moore. I get that sense. And especially because, you have a new run game coordinator, which we've talked about at length. It's not a good thing to lose Jeff Stoutland, but it at least like gives the appearance that they're more all in on Mannion's vision for what the offense should look like.
Yeah, and I agree that I think it's going to be a pretty big shift, a pretty seismic shift in what the offense looks like. And when we did, and we've written about this, when we did talk to Nick at length on Friday at the Jefferson Health Training Center
complex,
he did talk about all the things he likes about that offense, and and how he, and there some of the things are things they've done, but yeah, I think we're going to see a pretty different looking offense. I think we need to, and I think he needs to kind of go all in on this. This is what Sean wants to run. This is what he's comfortable with, and this is why they hired him. I mean, the fact that Nick said as the interviews went along, he felt stronger and stronger about having Shanahan concepts and somebody who can teach them and coach them and play call them. And the fact that he changed up in the middle of the search process tells me he's pretty committed to doing this.
Yeah, for now. And that's the key. It's like
so they're down 17-10 at halftime on opening day.
Maybe. And like I think that's the fear. And even though they had great success with Kellen Moore, I think we get back into the coaching search of it all. And like I wonder how much the success was great, but they also didn't really let Kellen just take over. And Kellen Moore was a guy who has been an offensive coordinator for longer than Mannion, who was a head coaching candidate before, and they didn't give him that type of autonomy. So yeah, it does make me wonder a little bit exactly how much Nick is going to be hands off. And I keep going back to like, if it starts to sink, it's Nick's butt on the line. I'm curious about what the response is going to be in a moment like that if it comes up.
If it starts to sink, how do you tell Nick, don't fill up buckets of water and, throw them over the side? I mean, he's going to do that. It's just a matter of what it would take to get to that point. And, you hope, I'm sure Nick hopes that they never get to that, but I'm sure he's thought about it. And, we'll see. It's a strange situation. I mean, the whole thing about having an offensive coach who it's not his offense is strange. I mean, it's just.
But I think we're at the point now where like, is he an offensive coach?
Well, I mean, that's his background. That's what he does.
It's his background. But like, if you're a CEO coach, can you get to the point where people don't think of you? Like, do you think of Harbaugh on one side or the other anymore? John Harbaugh?
Yeah, he's a defensive coach. Yeah.
But I think I don't know if he's viewed like right when he became a head coach. I think that he was really viewed as more of a defensive coach. I feel like that's faded over the years. And like Mike Tomlin, I feel like that faded over the years.
I still think of Harbaugh as a special teams coach. I mean, he was only a defensive coach 1 year here. But yeah, I think that's when that's your background. I do think of you that way. I'm really intrigued by guys who've coached on. I want to do a story on guys who've coached on both sides of the ball. I think it's a really fascinating topic.
I can think of Juan.
Well, Jim Johnson, but there's.
That was a Juan Castillo joke.
Oh, I can think of
Juan.
Juan, that was good.
Yeah, thank you.
That was so good. I didn't even get it.
Yeah, I've always said that the good sign of a great joke is that you have to explain it.
Well, you had to explain that one, but that's just because I was slow there. But yeah.
Did you notice that? Off topic, sorry. Yeah. In LA, they have Brian Johnson got hired. Former Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson got hired under Sean McVay's staff, and they have an offensive quality control or offensive whatever coach. He's the offensive guy. He's on the defensive staff, and they have a defensive guy on the offensive staff.
Really?
Yeah. So like Brian Johnson is basically going to be like a resource for their defense.
That's interesting. That's kind of what Vic did when he was here the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He focused more on the offense than the defense, which I thought was really interesting. He talked about that, I think, his first year here, or maybe this past year. I don't know. But just he came in as a consultant, but he was mainly consulting with the offense because as a defensive coach, who better to figure out how to stop an offense than the defensive coach. So I like that. Yeah. And I mean, Vic can coach any side of the ball. He can coach special teams. He can coach third base, whatever.
I like that better.
Yeah. Big baseball guy.
Now let me get this back on track a little bit, because after the season, what was it, January 15th, when we talked to Nick and Howie, Nick Sirianni was asked a question about, will this next offensive coordinator, at the time we didn't know it was going to be Sean Mannion, will that coach be able to bring in some coaches under him? Will he get to pick his staff? Nick answered that question, and then unprompted, Howie Roseman went on a little side quest to explain how good of a coach Nick Sirianni is. And it was a very concerted effort. It was something that he clearly wanted to say, and he just picked the time to say it. When we were talking to Howie back last week at the Jefferson Health Training Complex
Center,
he was asked, like, why did you feel the need to do that? And he basically said, like, I know what gets said about Nick, that, he's just a product of circumstance, a product of, in Howie's case, like, the guy who created the roster. And he said he just thinks that's really unfair. So I find it a little fascinating that Howie took it upon himself to let people know that what he thinks of Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. And, you keep that in mind if they go 10-7 or 11-6 and the Sirianni watch is on. And what Howie says is a reflection of how Jeffrey feels. Pretty much. I mean, they're pretty much in lockstep. I don't think they disagree. That was interesting. One thing Howie said the other day is Stout and I never disagree, but we have disagreed. He kind of, I don't know if you followed that, but he is a good coach and he does have strengths. They might be a little non-traditional strengths, but you don't have this much success if you're not a good coach. And I mean, I think one of the best moves he ever made as a coach was benching himself as play caller in 21.
Yeah. And it's such a funny thing because he's not the only one to do it. I was actually listening to Dave Canales the other day. He announced that he's going to give over play calling. So other guys have done it. It works. There's a humility involved in that. And you're right. I've always given Nick credit for seeing that and being able to do it. Now, the fact that he needed to do it in the first place, I don't think is a strength.
Sure. Yeah. But he was better at it than Patullo. They weren't that bad when he was calling plays. He just didn't have a flair for it. I think Nick's biggest strength is just he gets people to follow him and to believe in him and to listen to him and to play hard for him. And that's just as important as what play you call on 3rd and 13. So
it can be.
You don't have, it can be. I mean, you don't have this kind of success, and it's unprecedented. I mean, he's one of 5 coaches in history to get to the playoffs his first 5 years. You don't have that success by accident. So does he have deficiencies? Absolutely. Does he understand what they are? I think so. I think he's a pretty good people person. What you need to be in that role. I think he reads people really well. So I think they're going to have to be pretty bad for him to get fired.
I think how they get to it would matter too. We've talked about this on previous pods. Like if you start off hot and then you falter late.
2023.
Yeah, if you do another 2023, not good. I would if they have another 2023, I think he's gone.
That's fair. Would they lose 5 of their last 6?
Yeah. But if you get to an 11 or 12, or if you get to a 10 or 11 win season, but you finish hot, and maybe there were extenuating circumstances, maybe the quarterback misses a few games, maybe you're really banged up at certain positions, you can give some grace probably. Maybe you see it through, especially if you retain the staff under him. And now it's a very young offensive staff. You see signs of growth. It really just there's so much context that, and I've had people ask me what number does he need to hit to be retained, or what level of the playoffs. I think it's really dependent upon how they actually get there and what it looks like.
I mean, I kind of feel like he might need to win a playoff game, but then again, if they go 16-1 and lose 30-27,
Well, if they go 16-1, I think they'll have a bye.
They would have advanced, most likely. Yeah. But does advancing with a bye equal a win? I mean, as far as where you get to, it does. But you know what I'm saying. I kind of think that they need to win a playoff game. If they lose back to back, while assuming it's a wild card game, I don't know I don't know if he survives that, but he might.
It's kind of amazing. He's already lasted longer than Doug Peterson. Have you thought about that? Doug was 5 years. Nick is 5 years in. He's going into year 6.
Yeah. He's lasted longer than, there's not a lot of coaches who've gone into year 6 with this team. It might just be him and Big Red.
Yeah. I mean,
Vermeil was what, 77 to 80, 81, 76 to 81. Well, it might have been 6 years, but yeah, he's up there.
And he was someone that, I wasn't sure how long it was going to last. Even when they got to Super Bowl in 22, I thought he might burn out. Like, I was more worried about him burning out than them like getting tired of him and firing him, because he has such a unique coaching style. I was kind of wondering, like, maybe this isn't going to be a long-term coach. So the fact that he's 6 years in is like kind of impressive to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to be pretty good on work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a demanding job, and so many 18-hour days. Yeah, I don't know how like Andy Reid can do it. He's done it since '99. This is his 27th year he's going into.
I went to Mike Vrabel's press conference yesterday, and he had a line where he's like, I tell my coaches, do not blame me if you're missing things with your family. I give you time off. Like, dude, don't put that on me. Don't be going home and telling your wife that Vrabel won't let me go to this event or function. He's like, it's an important aspect. Like, I want to make sure these guys go home and spend time with their families.
My math was off. Andy's going into his 28th year.
Okay. We'll forgive you. We'll show you some grace on that. I think that's all I had on the Nick Sirianni discussion. Any other thoughts in your mind about Nick and where he stands with the organization, especially with the new OC?
I did think it was interesting that, Howie knows that the public perception of Nick is not a great one, and the fact that he would kind of go there was interesting. Because that means Nick knows. Nick's very aware of. I don't know what Nick's approval rating would be among Eagles fans right now. Social media is probably not a fair gauge of that, but I don't think it's super high.
It's probably about as low as you can get for a guy who's a year removed from winning a Super Bowl.
Probably.
Right?
And it's not like they went 5-12.
You're right. But it's I think so much of it is just the perception of, if he's not the OC, he's not the DC, he's not special teams coordinator. And Howie mentioned this, like, well, what does he do? And if you're going to say that his strengths are like team building and fundamentals and all those things, like, that's great. It's tough to quantify all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas other coaches have like discernible strong suits that are very clear, and you see them, they show up on the field. It's a lot tougher to see Nick's. And then on top of it, I think his personality can be grating, like during games. I don't think outside of games it's grating. I think he's like a normal guy outside of it. But I think that rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
He has gotten better a little bit. Yeah.
By the way, I saw Nick and Dan Quinn chopping it up the other day. So it doesn't seem like there's any bad blood from the end of the season.
That's good. It's good to hear.
Is it?
I don't know.
Let's talk about the young coaching staff, because you've been talking about this. You've been writing about it. Is it the youngest ever, or one of the youngest ever?
Youngest offensive staff since 1997. So youngest staff in 29 years. That was when Sean Payton and John Gruden and that group were just starting out. So it's the youngest offensive staff in almost 3 decades. That staff, because they've always had like Stoutland and then Ted Williams, like they brought the average up. Ted Williams was here forever. Then Rod Dowhower, there was always that one really kind of guy in his 50s or 60s. They don't have that. And I did ask Nick about that, and he said if you have good teachers, first he compared it to when they first got here, and the whole staff was really young. I'm just kind of focusing on the offensive obviously Vic is going to bring the total average way up. But his thing is like, if you have guys who are good at what they do and good teachers and have been around good people, then I don't care about the number.
And you look around the league, he's not unique in that. Like, we see Declan Doyle getting hired. We see all these young wonderkin type of coordinators around the league.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a relatively new development. I think 10 years ago, you weren't going to get an OC job unless you'd put in like 10 years as a position coach or passing game coordinator, whatever it was. Now, I mean, guys are getting these jobs after coaching for a year or two. I mean, Sean Mannion has 2 years in his back pocket.
Is that the Sean McVay effect? Like, everyone's just trying to find the next McVay? And he's not the first young coach that's gotten hired, but like in the modern NFL, I feel like everyone's chasing that.
Very well could be. Yeah. I mean, I think teams see that it's working for some teams, and it's a copycat league. So, and young guys are going to, I mean, we're talking about the 18-hour days. I mean, young guys are going to be pretty gung-ho about coming in and working hard and maybe have better relationships with the players who are about the same age as them than an older guy. I don't know. But it is certainly, I think it's changed a lot just in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's really about ideas. Like, can your coaches bring new ideas, fresh ideas? They don't have to be young to do that. Certainly, like, I think Vic is a prime example on the other side of the football of being an older coach, but always being willing to change and find new things. But I'll go back to, I love listening to Mike Vrabel the other day. He was saying he challenges all of his coaches to scour every level of football and come back to him with a few ideas. He said they're only crazy if they don't work. So, I like that from coaches where, like, that's a coach that just took his team to the Super Bowl, but you can't stay stagnant. If you stay stagnant, you get left behind in the NFL. So if you have young coaches, but they're creative and they have a good base to them, that's okay. And the other part of it is, I think the Eagles are valuing playing experience as total experience. We talked about that with Sean Mannion, but we'd also say the same thing about a Chris Cooper or Ryan Mahaffey played in the league. Aaron Moorhead played in the league. Not only does that like help you connect with players, but it's also experience. Now, maybe you're not thinking about it through a coaching lens at that point, but those experiences still matter.
Yeah, no question. And Mannion in particular has been around probably more really high-level football minds as a player than as a coach, because he's only coached a couple of years. I remember Nick telling us that he gives all his coaches assignments during the offseason, like a project. Go research like the most successful third down plays in college football this past year or something like that. He'll give each coach a project, come back to me and present something to me, I think that kind of thing is really important. It's interesting if Vrabel does it kind of in a little bit different way, but that's only a positive. Bring in just new ways to bring in fresh ideas into the building. Yeah. The Jefferson Health Training Complex.
You nailed it that time. I've spent a good portion of my week here at the Combine talking to people about Sean Mannion. At the podium, on the record, off the record. And I'm assuming this is kind of similar to the experience the Eagles have had when they reached out to people. Like, I haven't heard anyone say a bad thing about him so far as a person or a coach. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone thinks it's going to work. Like, I've had people tell me, there's really no way to know if he's ready for this or not. But, I've been trying to find someone tell me something bad about him just to see if anyone has anything. And I really haven't found it. And that's from people who aren't particularly fond of this coaching staff or of the Eagles. Like I think that's, I'm sure that's what the Eagles found when they started to dig on Mannion a little bit. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but I think it is notable.
Have there been any Sean Mannion sightings?
I have not seen him. A few years ago they changed the combine schedule, and it goes like their player interviews go like so deep into the night. It's all just like hit or miss. I've run into a few people here or there and said hello, but I have not seen Sean Mannion.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's real. I mean, we haven't talked to him. We haven't seen him.
Sean Mannion's just a concept.
Could be. Maybe he's AI, the NFL's first AI play caller.
Be better than what they had last year.
I was thinking the exact same thing. It would be.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the tush push, the words coming out of Indianapolis about that play, and then we have a bunch of questions to get to as well.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
We are back on the Eagle Eye Podcast, brought to you by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro with you. Reuben, let's talk about the tush push a little bit. It sounds like there will be no rule proposal to ban that play as we get ready for the 2026 season. An absolute shocker that it just happens to coincide with the year the Eagles had with the play not being very good.
And them not winning a Super Bowl. Yeah. And we've said all along that the reasons that people cited for wanting to get rid of it were so disingenuous and dishonest. The injuries. I love what Sean Payton said, I guess, on Tuesday. Were you there for that?
Yeah, great quote.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if you have the quote in front of you, but he basically said, people's reasoning was BS. The injury thing was BS. He said, 200 injuries a year on the new kickoff, and there's never been an injury on the tush push, but people keep citing that.
I have it here. I don't think the push sneak. I think if that ever goes away, it's not a health and safety thing. We discussed that last year for 2 hours, and we just adopted 1,000 more kick returns. Which play do you think is more of a health risk? 1,000 more kick returns. So I think if we choose to ever move on from that, it won't be because of health and safety. It will just be like, we don't like it, which is okay. Yeah. I totally, if all those losers last year would have just said, we don't like the play because one team's really good at it and no one else is really good at it, I think that's unfair, but at least it's honest. Yeah. Like I think it was actually Jerry Jones who kind of admitted that, I don't want the Eagles to be able to have this play, but all the other reasons were such BS. And it started under the guise of player safety. And then at the owners' meetings last year, Rich McKay came out, and it's funny. I feel like I'm always bothering Rich McKay. For years, it was about the 2 helmet rule, and now it's about the tush push. But Rich McKay came out and said that the conversation around the play devolved into aesthetics, and then during this last season, it was very clear the NFL started to push the idea that, well, how in the world can these referees officiate this play? Which is another, I don't think it's officiated well, but that's not a reason to ban it. Just officiate it better. So all the reasons have been total BS, and it sounds like the play is going to be here in 2026.
Yeah, and I mean, the part that the refs are not getting right has nothing to do with the push part of it.
Yeah, a false start. Yeah, okay.
It's the pre-snap. Yeah, or a guy lining up off sides. I mean, that has nothing to do with the push aspect. It'll be interesting to see what adjustments the Eagles make to get. What was their percentage? Like it was in the 70s this year, right?
63.
63.
Yeah, it was over 81 the year before.
Yeah. See if they do some different things off of it. If they line up differently. And they also didn't have.
They started to do that a little bit. I mean, teams started to figure it out. And I give so much credit to the Detroit Lions because they were the only team on the Eagles schedule who voted with them. They had some integrity about it. All those other teams voted against them because they didn't want to get beat by the play. So not only did Dan Campbell and the Lions vote with them, they were the first team to really figure it out. They defended it in a different way, which is that's fun. That's a fun part of football. A team has a great play and you figure out a way to stop it. That's what it's all about. The Lions basically said, we're not going to worry about loading up the interior. We're going to attack from the edges. We're going to basically take those pushers out of the play. And then they also realized, and the Bears realized this too, that Jalen's a little more exposed with the football on these plays if he's getting held up and you start to punch at the ball. So, like, to me, that's fun. And then the Eagles started to play the play differently. That's the chess match that I love about football. So everyone who said it's not a football play, like, I had a lot of fun watching that last year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think they scored on a pitch to Saquon.
Yeah, they showed the formation, and it was a quick pitch to Saquon who found the lane. Like, the Eagles have worked really hard to defend this play by having wrinkles off of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really curious to see where they'll go with it this year. Empowered by the fact that nobody's trying to get rid of it anymore. I wonder if they do really well, if they're back up in the 88% percentile, do teams start trying to ban it again?
Yeah,
probably,
right?
Because they're a bunch of dishonest, disingenuous.
Well, normally I don't. It almost feels like fanish to me to like rail on these teams, but if you see BS, call BS. Like, what the heck are we doing here?
Yeah.
After it came out that it wasn't going to be a rule proposal, I fired off a little snarky tweet saying, like, oh, it's interesting that it's not a health and safety concern when the Eagles aren't as good at the play anymore, huh? And that's what it is.
That's prime snark from Dave Zangaro right there.
Yeah. I try not to be too snarky.
It's not working.
Do you think the O-line, if it's healthy, is just like automatically, all right, the plays will be better?
I think that would be a big part of it, having a healthy Cam and a healthy Landon. Yeah. And Lane, I mean, certainly. I mean, that's three guys who were either not playing or were banged up. And I think Jordan was probably banged up too at some point, Tyler Steen. But yeah, I think a healthy O-line, just that alone will make them more successful. Yeah. Might not get them back where they were, but it'll help.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how they start to, by the end of the year, they were going like one pusher and then people blocking they were more worried about like sealing off the edge, which is like a fun aspect to this, because I do think we've talked about this before. I think if the play ever does get banned, quarterback sneaks are still a thing. Like, you still have it is still a high percentage play, I think, with the personnel they have. Yeah,
I would agree. Jalen still got tree trunks for legs.
Squat 600 pounds, we know that, right? So I still think it will be an effective play.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. We have plenty of time for questions. This is good. We want to go through some?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. If you have a question for us, it's eagleeye@NBCUni. That's NBCUNI.com. First one today comes from none other than Kenny. I had to find it. Hey, guys, what are the chances we see the Eagles bring in someone of significance in free agency? A CB2 or some help on the O-line would be awesome. Or do you think this is a year where they just get a couple lottery ticket type players? Thanks for the great show.
Yeah, I mean, I think Howie's pretty clear about what the approach is going to be, and I wouldn't really expect any big ticket free agents. Maybe one, but I don't think it would be even a big ticket, maybe just a medium ticket.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think priority number one is going to be re-sign a couple of their own guys. And the part of this, I think they're going to be playing the compensatory pick game. So like a brief explanation of it is basically if you lose more big ticket free agents than you sign, you get picks back and for the following draft. So it's not like it's not like you can do this every year where you try to load up on comp picks, but we saw it last year, right? They lost some players and they did not sign a lot of players that would cancel them out of the formula. Now, I think they might have canceled one out. I think it was the Isaiah Rodgers got canceled out by signing Azeez Ojulari, but they're still projected to get 3 picks back. So I think they're going to play the comp pick game. And an important part of that is any player who gets released and is not just becoming a free agent does not count toward that formula. So the one guy in my mind there is Bradley Chubb, who, if you can't re-sign Jalen Phillips, if his market explodes, you could sign Bradley Chubb it could be a somewhat significant contract, and it would not affect that comp pick formula.
Yeah, it's only for guys who reach free agency.
Naturally.
With their contracts expiring, that sort of free agency. Interesting because they were teammates in Miami. But yeah, Howie's good at playing that game. And, now you can trade the comp picks. You used to not be able to. So that kind of gives them even more flexibility.
Yeah, he'll take those poker chips.
No question. He loves them.
Next one is from Joe. Love the pod. Listen to every one. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Of these positions of need, how would you rank where the Eagles may draft those positions with their first 5 picks? So the positions he gave us here are O-line, edge, tight end, wide receiver, and corner. But let's just say, how would you rank those positions for how you think the Eagles might use that first round pick?
The O-line, I would say O-line is probably most likely.
Okay.
Just because it's Howie, and I would say D-line's second most likely just because it's Howie.
Yeah. So O-line, then edge.
And then was it wide receiver, tight end, and corner?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say tight end third just because I haven't taken a tight end in my mock draft for next week.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Yeah, the Oregon kid. Bless you.
I tried to find the mute button. I couldn't find it. Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing with tight ends this year is it's like a pretty deep class, and there's like different ways you can view that. You can try to wait and find more value in a mid round, especially with that position. I think that's possible, but we'll see.
Yeah, I guess the last first round tight end they took was Keith Jackson in '88.
Yeah.
First draft I covered in a dank windowless room at the vet.
Yeah. And Goddard was a second round pick, but he was their first pick that year.
Right. 18.
Yeah. Because they traded out of 32 for that Lamar Jackson pick.
But I do think probably wide receiver is probably more likely than tight end.
Just because there's more guys who are going to go in that range.
Right. And if somebody takes Sadiq, you're not taking a tight end. I think I would say wide receiver and corner are pretty close.
Now, what do you think is more likely at corner? Do you think it's more likely they draft one, or that they draft one in the first round, or that they sign another Adoree Jackson type player?
I think you could see one of each. I wouldn't be surprised if they do sign a mid-level free agent. Would you be okay with Adoree Jackson starting next year? How much faith do you have in him being able to put a whole season together the way he played the last month or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally you'd like to try to upgrade. I think he was fine. But at every turn they tried to upgrade.
Yeah.
They wanted Keely Ringo to win the job. They traded for Jacorian Bennett. Then they traded for Jair Alexander. They were pretty clear that they were trying to upgrade all of last year. I'd be really almost shocked if they didn't try to get in this offseason.
Yeah, and every time they brought someone in, Adoree Jackson played better.
Yeah, I agree.
Took it. So maybe they'll just draft 17 corners and just let one compete each week. But
the other element of drafting a corner too is not that you don't want to live in fear like this. You don't probably want to operate this way, but say you draft a corner in the first round and you hit big, his timeline is going to be pretty similar to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who you're already going to have to pay. You probably can't look at it that long term, but that could be a potential pitfall down the road.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty long-term thinking. I mean, whatever happens, whatever they draft, they're gonna have a tough time keeping all their players. I mean, they just will over the next couple of years. Howie's just drafted too well for his own good.
Pretty good problem to have.
Yeah.
And Joe had one more non-football question. Rube, any chance I'll see you at the upcoming Steven Wilson Jr. show at the Fillmore? I don't know when we got this email. I don't know when that show is, so it might have already happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Steven Wilson was added to the non-com Non-Com's a big music thing in May in Philly with Death Cab for Cuties playing and bunch of people. They have like 30 bands in 4 days. So Stephen Wilson's on the list there. So I'll see him there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Marty next. Hi, Dave and Rube. Looking forward to your pods to bridge us through to free agency, the draft, and camp. I appreciate Rube's defense of both Aaron Moorhead and Jalen Hurts in his recent 10 observations. True, no receiver beyond AJ and Devontae has looked terrific, but playing in garbage games with second-team offenses versus first-team defenses, Jahan Dotson looked like a competent NFL receiver. In your opinion, is it one, AJ and Devontae and Goddard are so good that there are no targets left for wide receiver 3? 2, the scheme and play calling is designed to get the ball to the big 3, or 3, Hurts uses the big 3 as a security blanket and never looks at other potential targets?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with just throwing it to the best guys on the field. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Some people might like, not that you shouldn't throw to your best players, but I think people would argue that maybe spreading the ball around gives a different dynamic to the offense.
Yeah, and I mean, Jahan Dotson did have a significant number of targets this year for the amount he played. He played a ton of snaps. I think he's just a guy. I don't think he's a special player. I think he was overdrafted. I think he made the best of the targets he got, the ones that were catchable. I think it's a little bit of all those things.
I think it probably – and look, like if the offense isn't as good, it's a little tougher to get those other guys involved. You know, if the offense stinks and you're throwing the ball to Jahan Dotson, what are we doing here? The offense is good and you're throwing the ball to Dotson, then it becomes a good thing because everyone's getting involved and it's working on all cylinders. So I think it changes based upon like how well you're performing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm curious to see if they do ever have a legit third receiver, like if they draft somebody this year.
They have Quez in the building.
Quez is signed to a futures contract, but I'm not going to include him in that group. But I'm curious to see what it would look like. And obviously, if AJ's not here, then that 3 becomes a 2, and we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, and like we've talked about that, if that were to happen, all of a sudden receiver kind of skyrockets to the top of the need list because Devontae's great. I think we all believe that if he needed to be the number 1 receiver, he'd be really good. Even Nick, did you hear that at Nick's press conference on Tuesday? He was asked if Devontae had reached the ceiling, and he was like, oh no. And that's kind of the sentiment around the league and people that have watched Devontae since Alabama. That might be like, we haven't talked about this much. Could he be the biggest beneficiary from a new system of anyone?
It's an interesting premise. I think Saquon would be, although he did come on later in the year. But yeah, I think there's so much more there with Devontae. I really do.
Yeah, just in the way, like, to me, he's really kind of like a Swiss Army knife type of player. You can use him in so many different methods, and every once in a while they would like dip their toes into that, like an orbit motion type play with Devontae. But I think he can do so much, and they've really just scratched the surface because look, the offense was simple, and I'm not even saying simple as like a bad term there, but it was simple, and I don't think it allowed Devontae to really show everything that he can do. Like all the skills that he has were not on display all the time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you don't see Devontae getting a lot of easy catches. Like he's got to fight for everything. And he wins those battles, and he's a tough guy. You worry about injury sometimes with him because he's such a skinny dude and plays so physical. But I would love to see what Devontae looks like if you can get him some easy catches over the middle. He's always making tough, contested catches, and he's great at that. But there's got to be more. There's got to be more in the offense for him.
Yeah, that might be my big talking point in training camp. Like by the Devontae. Well, we got to see the offense first, but by the Devontae Smith stock, take the overs Don't do that yet. Let's see the offense, what it looks like in camp. But that might be my my bang the drum message once we get to training camp.
Bang the drum slowly. Remember that movie?
I do not actually.
No. Check it out. Yeah, I think Devontae's got like a 1,400-yard season in him. It's just he needs the offense, and he just hasn't quite had it. But he's got the most yards ever by an Eagle in his first 5 years. He's like ahead of Macklin, ahead of Deshaun, ahead of Quick. He's put up I think he's got the 9th most yards in the league over the last 5 years, even though he's never had that did he have a 12 like an 1183 or something?
Yeah, he's
never had like that one really big season. But I think it's in him, and I would love to see what that looks like.
Me too. Is he the most popular Eagle? Maybe not popular. Like if you did like approval ratings on Eagles,
maybe Lane.
Okay.
I don't think Lane's getting a lot of down votes.
Yeah. I think Devontae's right up there. People love Devontae Smith.
Yeah, no, they do. I'm sure Cooper wouldn't get a lot of down votes, but yeah, he's in that top group.
Yeah. Let's do one more here. This one from Kara. Hi, David and Rube. I really appreciate all the analysis and insight you've shared as we're all sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for the legal tampering period and the draft. I have 2 questions I'd love your thoughts on. First, and we'll do these one at a time. First, is there any realistic chance the Eagles bring back Zach Ertz? It will be a great full circle moment for him to retire as an Eagle, and he could provide veteran tight end help, especially if we draft a tight end and potentially move on from Dallas Goedert.
Well, we all remember Zach Ertz's farewell press conference when he said, I think I'll be back.
It was a wild comment in hindsight.
It was. I think that's when he got traded to Arizona, I guess. Mm-hmm. It was at the middle of the 2021 season.
Yeah, and at the time, we thought he was going to a contender. Little do we know the Eagles were going to be in the Super Bowl the next year.
Yeah. I saw a video of Ertz jumping rope in a gym.
Apparently, he plans to play this year.
Yeah, he plans to play this year. He is a free agent. I don't know if Washington has any interest. He's one of the younger players on their roster.
That's a good joke.
I know you give me a hard time, but he is like 8 catches behind Harold Carmichael for the all-time Eagles record. I know he'd like to break that.
He would. He does care about that.
He does. He's put up, his numbers, he's like 5th all-time among tight ends in catches. It's really amazing. He had a game-winning catch in a Super Bowl, I think 3 Pro Bowls. He's had a really nice career. I know he wants to keep playing. He was playing well when he got hurt, before he got hurt last year. Mm-hmm. He had a big game in that playoff game. He had over 100 yards in that NFC Championship game 2 years ago. I would think about it if he's healthy.
Yeah, if it's not like a huge contract, I don't think it would be.
No, I can't imagine.
They don't have any tight ends under contract aside from EJ Jenkins.
I think EJ would be a little upset about it. But yeah, I would think about it.
I don't know if we mentioned this on the last pod, but Howie Roseman last week was asked about tight ends and admitted that he probably didn't have a diverse enough group last season. I thought that was a notable admission from him.
Yeah, it was.
Basically, didn't have guys who could block.
Yeah. Also, I think the prototype NFL tight end has become a pass catcher. I think it's almost like blocking's optional now, where it used to be like if you wanted to really devote some resources to a tight end, he better do both. I think now you can get a guy, like Trey McBride's not blocking anybody.
But there are some like blocking specialist type tight ends.
There still are, but you're not devoting a ton of assets to them. They're like blocking tight ends. Mm-hmm. Kittle is like the prototype of a guy who does both.
Yeah. And for a while, Goddard was.
He was until this past year. He didn't block well. Mm-hmm. But I'm really interested to see what they do at the position. And Zach Ertz is, for me, he's part of that equation.
Yeah. Second question from Kara, and then we'll wrap this up.
How many questions does she get? Jeez.
This is only the second one.
Okay. It seemed like it was about 9.
We just talked about that one for a while.
I guess we did.
Are there any trade scenarios you could see other than anything involving A.J. Brown that might land us an additional second round or late first round pick either before or during the draft? All we seem to hear about is the A.J. trade speculation, which feels like noise. I'd love to hear what the other potential moves might be realistically on the table for Howie.
I don't know who's tradable as like who you have to balance. I mean, it would have to be a position where they have depth. It would have to be a position where,
yeah. And if we're talking about like high level compensation, there aren't a lot of players they'd be willing to trade if they're that good.
Right.
I think the obvious one, is Tanner McKee. If you can get, I don't think you could just get a flat 2 for him, but if you could get maybe a 3 with conditions that, whether it's playing time or yards or whatever could turn into a 2, I think that's about the right price for him.
And I think if he had played lights out that last week, I think a 2 might still be in play. Because if he had played lights out on top of how he played at the end of 24, you feel pretty good about like this guy can really go in somewhere and compete for a starting job. But he was not good in that game, and I think that's going to affect his value. Even though it was only one game, there was only 2 games that raised his value.
Yeah. There's been some like speculation about the Jets potentially being interested, and that kind of makes sense because now you have Frank Reich there with the connection to Nick Sirianni. You can kind of connect some dots. I don't know. I don't think it's crazy. I'm still very bullish on Tanner McKee. That Week 18 game didn't really diminish much for me. Now, you'd like to see him play better, but he was also out there with backups for the most part. I have not really changed my view on him because of that game.
I haven't either, but the question is it's not how we feel, it's how do NFL teams feel. And you better be pretty convinced if you're going to give up a 2. So
what do you think about a 3 with conditions?
Possibly.
Do you think that's about right?
I think we might be looking at a 4.
And I don't think I would do that.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think he's too valuable for this season as a backup, unless you have some kind of plan that you already have in place that would turn out better. I would not trade him for a 4.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Anybody else tradable? Any other?
Yeah, I mean, so typically the guys who get traded are players who you don't think you're going to resign. So are there players on defense that I don't think so. I don't think there's anyone.
And you'd probably want a guy. I mean, a team would want a guy with a couple years left on his contract. They don't have any of those.
Yeah. I mean, if you've decided I don't think you would do this and I don't think the value would be there, but if you decided that hey, we're not gonna be able to pay Nolan Smith, someone with that type of contract, but I don't think they would do that. And I don't think his value is particularly high right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Good questions there. Thank you for all those. If you have one for us, eagleeye@nbcuni.com. QR code's on the screen. If you want to send us one using that, hit pause and scan it. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, you know what to do. Please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click that like button, subscribe there as well. Reuben, I'm getting ready to leave Indianapolis. It's been a fun week. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, just safe travels, and we'll see you next week.
Is that snow going to be pretty melted by the time I get home, hopefully?
No. Plenty of snow on the ground.
All right. Have shoveling to look
It
forward
might
to.
be here till the first week of April.
I hope not. All right. Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.